a major body weight scale manufacturer in Tokyo. On display at the headquarters is this.
こちらが世界初の体脂肪計になります。
The first device to estimate body fat mass simply by stepping on it. Body weight and body fat mass are measured to 1 decimal place. Body fat percentage is also shown.
これまでは
Up until then, it was an elaborate process to measure body fat. This scale made it simple to do. It was a real breakthrough.
Our story begins in 1959. Many households in Japan still did not have a bath. People measured their weight with the large scale at the public bathhouse. One manufacturer saw an opportunity to introduce a new product to Japan, the home bathroom scale. The president focused his attention on the bathroom scales he had seen in America. Soon, the people of Japan would also weigh themselves at home. They studied the American design and spent about 3 years producing their own prototype. At first, the scales were not very well received. But sales steadily grew as the number of homes with baths increased. However, by the year of 1988, Japan had reached an era of prosperity, and obesity rates in men had risen significantly. Speaking to a doctor one day, the president heard something unexpected. Body weight wasn't the key number for obesity. The amount of body fat was. The Japan Society for the Study of Obesity had been formed by doctors and researchers. The alarm was raised that in order to diagnose obesity, you needed to know the weight of the body fat, not the weight of the whole body. What would it take to create a new device to measure the amount of fat in the body? The company started looking into the issue. This is Nishizawa Miyuki, who was on the development team. This is how she remembers things.
The company formed a team that was responsible for finding a way to measure body fat. How could you determine the volume of just the fat and not the entire body? This was such an interesting problem. I was excited to join the team.
How could body fat be measured? Nishizawa's team eagerly tackled the problem. The search began to find a way to measure fat in the body. The development team gathered research papers about fat from around the world. What they learned was that there were already several ways to measure body fat. One method is the skin fold test. The thickness of the fold of skin is measured using a caliper. However, this method requires considerable technique, and measurements end up varying. Another method involves submerging the body underwater. The method is accurate, but considerably demanding. The most promising technique was one developed in the US, a medically advanced nation. Electrodes are placed on the hands and feet, and a weak current is run through the body. The measurement can be used to calculate body fat.
A very weak, safe amount of electricity is run through the body, and from that, the amount of water inside you can be measured. You can then calculate the body fat mass using the body water measurement. Some university professors in sports medicine or nutritional biology that were really thinking outside the box used these methods, but overall it was mostly unknown in Japan.
The team got their hands on an existing device and studied it. They were able to create their own prototype using the same principle. A team member volunteered to try the device. It worked. The device displayed an estimated body fat percentage. Feeling optimistic, they brought their device to a hospital. But the doctor's reaction was lukewarm. It was too much effort to put on all the electrodes. Was there a simpler way? The development team was determined to find an alternate approach and scrapped their existing design. Inspiration came from a familiar device. The company's main product, the bathroom scale. If only you could measure body fat by stepping, just like with body weight. But the problems were immediately apparent. When electrodes are on the hands and feet, you can measure the fat in the whole body. But on a scale, the electrodes only touch your feet. The current would only run through the lower body. What kind of breakthrough was needed to measure the fat throughout the entire body? The members were at a loss. How could you determine body fat through just the feet? The team asked themselves this question for days. One member had an idea. What if you could estimate body fat from the amount of fat in just the lower body? As electricity travels up one leg and down the other, the body fat of the lower body is measured. If you factored in sex, age, and height, could you estimate the amount of fat in the whole body? That was the idea. But what was the formula? The team decided to gather measurements from people of all sorts of weights and body types. They would use this data to create a formula themselves.
Once we arrived at a formula, it needed to be verified by testing it in many cases. It was a statistics problem. We needed people of many weights and heights, an entire range of body fat data.
The most accurate measurement at the time used the underwater method, which required complete submersion. Measure body weight plus displacement in the pool, calculate the density of the body, and determine the body fat. It was demanding on the subjects, but there was no other way to get accurate data. Nishizawa was one of the first to volunteer. She headed to the company test room, changed into her swimsuit, and dove into the pool.
Yes, I was definitely a bit embarrassed, but my desire to get the data we needed was much stronger.
But to complete the formula, the development team needed over 100 test subjects. They had to look outside their group for help. For over 3 months, they gathered the data of more than 100 subjects from other employees at the company and from university research groups studying obesity. But the data set had a fatal flaw. The body types of the subjects they gathered were all very similar. The data was insufficient.
We could make a formula that applied to an average body type, but the formula wouldn't work at all if you considered the variety of people that exist. We needed to look for extremes.
They needed data from people with extremely high muscle mass or fat. This called for a certain class of individual. Yes, the people the team called in for help were bodybuilders and sumo wrestlers. Nishizawa's team continued to gather data, one person at a time. After 2 years, the body fat calculation formula was finally complete. Although the formula had been found, the prototype still had one issue. The electrical current wasn't flowing properly through the feet to measure the resistance of the body. The arch of the human foot was preventing good contact with the electrodes. Where should the electrodes be placed? The team determined that the heel was the best spot. While standing flat, the heel makes consistent contact with the ground.
We found that as long as the heel was firmly planted, even with a high arch or weak contact at the front of the foot, the electrical current would still flow. So we focused on the heel in order to determine the shape of the electrodes.
And that was how the first model was completed in the summer of 1991. It was the first scale in the world that could estimate body fat just by stepping on. The question was how to market the finished product. The team chose to debut their scale at a symposium organized by the Japan Society for the Study of Obesity. If the scale wasn't accepted here, it wouldn't be adopted by hospitals. Nishizawa and the team presented their product, desperate to impress the audience. But when it came time to take questions, the audience did not seem enthusiastic.
There definitely weren't any oohs or ahs. But at the same time, we also didn't get any sharp criticism. The audience usually doesn't hold back if they don't like what they see. But this time, they didn't really say much of anything.
Why didn't anyone seem interested? Nishizawa and the team nervously waited at their booth for people to visit. A single doctor approached. He wanted to try the scale. "May I step on?" he asked. As the doctor removed his dress shirt, the team noted his muscular physique. Apparently, the doctor was concerned about being too heavy for his height.
This doctor's BMI, or his weight relative to his height, was a bit high. He wanted to know whether it could correctly estimate his body fat percentage.
If their scale could accurately estimate this doctor's body fat, it would create good word of mouth. Nishizawa held her breath as she watched the doctor step onto the scale. The display flashed immediately. A body fat percentage of 18.
18% is a relatively slim number, so the doctor was very satisfied. When I saw how pleased he was, it made me happy too. And there's a funny part to this story as well. Actually, the hotel staff at the venue had been watching the whole thing. And after the symposium, they came up to us and they asked if they could try it too.
That was how the world's first body fat measuring scale made its debut. Thereafter, it gradually found its place at hospitals across the country.